Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom introduced a new world of exploration that appears beneath the normal map of Hyrule. As many have pointed out since the game's release, the depths mirror the overworld's topography and locations. Where there are shrines on the surface, there is a light route in the depths. Where there are oceans on the surface, there are walls in the depths. So how deep do the depths go? That's the question that I, and probably many others, have thought of before. Where is the deepest point? How far can you go? Today, I hope to shed some light on those questions and provide some answers. To count a location as the deepest, I decided that it had to be counted by the Z value on the map, and it'd have to be a physical spot that you could either stand on, climb on, or swim in. That meant that anything with a death plane or no physical ground couldn't count as the deepest spot in Hyrule. But don't worry, I'll be going to the deepest non-location as well, so stick with me here. But where to start? My first thought was that since the depths are a direct mirror of the surface, then surely the deepest point has to be under the tallest mountain. Number 1. Death Mountain. Death Mountain, at a first glance, may appear to be the obvious choice, as it is literally titled a mountain. However, after diving down, I soon realized that the true bottom of this pit was obscured by the lava that leveled out to about negative 1042. But was that the deepest that we could go? Of course not. So I set my sights on the next mountain, south of Eldin. Number 2. Mount Lanayru. Mount Lanayru, if you look at the map of the depths, appears to be much deeper than Death Mountain, but I found that this wasn't the case. When trying to go as deep as possible, the lowest point that I could find was at about negative 936, surprisingly shallower than Death Mountain's low, but I was certain that I could go much lower. Number 3. The Gerudo Highlands. The Gerudo Highlands were the ones that I expected to have the lowest numbers of all the mountains. When searching this area, I still had to get the light routes, as I had never explored here before. After finding 2 mines, I jumped down one and searched for as low as I could go. In the first one, it got to about negative 1,110, completely demolishing the previous record held by Death Mountain by an entire 100. When going to the other side of the mines, I found a spot that reached all the way down to negative 1,130, the new deepest point in the game, making it tough to beat, but one other contender would get close enough to take the trophy. Number 4. The Hebra Peak. The Hebra Mountains are some of the tallest mountains in the game, so naturally they'd have the deepest depths counterpart, right? As I traveled down this valley, the lowest crevice that I could find reached down to about negative 1,167, making it the new number 1 holder for the deepest place in Hyrule. Or is it? Soon I'd find that it wasn't even close. Number 5. Beneath Hyrule Castle. A major spoiler warning here for those who have not yet played Tears of the Kingdom, but I'd imagine if you're watching this, then that probably won't stop you anyways. You're here to know what the absolute deepest, lowest, and furthest down point in Hyrule is, and the depths beneath Hyrule Castle make Hebra Peak look like a joke. Traveling down Hyrule Castle's depths is a tricky business, but you'll quickly realize that it's designed to spiral downwards, deeper and deeper into the ground, just what we're looking for. Once you complete the main mini-dungeon and reach the huge crater in which Ganon destroyed in the opening cutscene, you'll be able to dive down and reach the low point of negative 1,790, which is already the deepest point we've seen so far, but Hyrule Castle isn't even done yet. The immediate next step is to dive down the next chasm, approaching the boss arena. This arena drops down so far that it breaks the negative 2,000 barrier. Easily! By the time that you reach the bottom, you'll already be at Z negative 2,472. That's 1,305 meters below the second place spot. However, I wasn't done. Remember what I said at the beginning of the video? Anything grounded counts, and that includes walls. I tried my best to climb down the walls, but every single time I was hit by a death plane, meaning that the absolute lowest point that I could get to was at a consistent Z level of negative 2,525. Negative 2,525. 525. Is this the lowest point in Hyrule? The absolute epitome of the depths? Maybe, if you're a filthy casual. Number 6, Zuggle overloading. If you've ever watched the 90% speedrun before, you'll notice that the top runners are playing on version 1.1.1 and before, and that their strategy for getting to the final boss fight in Hyrule Castle is a bit strange. It includes a lot of seemingly random inputs before placing down a steering stick and clipping through the floor. This is called Zuggle Overload OOB, out of bounds. When performing a nifty trick known as a Zuggle, Link overloads the game by smuggling too many weapons to his hand. When the game is overloaded like this, mounting something, such as, a steering stick, can completely remove collision temporarily. Unfortunately, I have updated my game to the version 1.1.2. Does this mean a failure and that I'd be forced to give up? No, I wouldn't be making this video if I gave up. Zuggle was recently discovered again on version 1.1.2, but it doesn't have all the useful features that it once did. Without some extra manipulation, it's a lot longer to perform. Fortunately, I'm only here for the overloading, and that works the same way that it did on 1.1.1. I'm not going to be explaining the whole glitch in detail, but if you'd like to learn more, I'll link the community glitch spreadsheet in the description below. The number of Zuggle bows for an overload may vary, but I found that it works best when there are at least 12 or more. And many iterations later, I finally reached a level of Zuggle that could send me through the floor. I flew down into the depths and began my work. If I wanted to find the absolute deepest point in Hyrule, I'd have to be careful, otherwise I'd die from fall damage. Yes, it is that deep. Clipping through the floor, I quickly found the bottom surface of the depths at an insane negative 3080. It seems like this plane continued on forever and didn't change in elevation, so no matter how far I ran, I couldn't find a deeper spot. So that's the number. Negative 3080 meters beneath the surface. How insane. Except that's not the end. With some careful maneuvering, I found the lowest grounded point in a position in the game ever to be negative 3115. The game would keep trying to push me up after this point though, so my victory was short-lived. Except that's also a lie, because theoretically it could be much lower, as I got down to negative 3,229 before taking fall damage and dying. If I took fall damage, then there must be some sort of collision there, meaning that that could be the lowest possible point. If we're not talking about real locations or places that you can stand, then the real number is actually negative infinity, because you don't ever have to leave the steering stick and can keep dropping until you're beneath the collision barrier. I got all the way down to negative 10,000, and I'm certain you can keep going until like the sign's 32-bit integer limit. Coordinates in the game are stored as a float 32, and that's something like 2,147,480,000 meters below zero. So yeah, that's the lowest point in Hyrule. Thank you all for watching.